Today is Monday, August the 30th. Something that we don't like to see is a discrepancy between the Dow and the S&P. The S&P was up 0.4%. The Dow was down slightly, 0.16%. What that meant is that the advancers and decliners, the decliners slightly outpaced the advancers, which took our McClellan oscillator, which is really important to us, down more towards the neutral line. And what we had said we thought might be happening is this repeated clustering of a number of days just in between neutral and overbought. The summation index increased by 43 points. But now let's look at the charts and let's see what we can glean from those. First of all, we have the Dow Jones, which failed to make a new high. Its new high would have to be up here, but it's trending in that direction. The NASDAQ had the biggest bump of all, and it created its second new high after Friday to today, and that was driven by a lot of stocks, but Apple was certainly one of them. The S&P also finished the day with a new high. So the Chiku span, remember we talked about the Chiku span bouncing off the candles back here, and price almost touching the 50. Well, that certainly has happened, and there should be a pullback, but the momentum should continue to be, in the upwards direction. The volatility index continues to drop. That's the fear index, meaning that not a lot of traders are buying puts to offset any concern that they have in the market. Apple was the big winner, up almost 3%, and that was a significant pop. It's still showing on the stochastics as overbought, but on the faster moving one, there is still room to move up and to continue to have that line just trending as Apple being a stock that is overbought, but continuing to move up. So that was a significant bounce, and that did a nice thing for the vertical spreads that we have of 145, 155, and 150 to 160. Abbott did make a new closing high. Caterpillar is the one that we're looking to get into, and we've got this resistance at the 50 now for 4 days in a row. Failed to enter back here on August the 23rd. If we get a bounce here at the bottom of the cloud, that's the time to enter. So let's just put an alert, and with motive wave we can say when it touches the Senku span A, which is normally the top, but because the cloud is reversed, A is at the bottom. So if we get a price right in here tomorrow that's going to actually move down into here. If we get a touch of 208, 209, that would be the time to jump in and start buying some of Caterpillar, and then get serious about buying it once it breaks out above the 50. But look again, the Chiku span is getting support on the candles 1 day, 2 day, and if you look at where the low was today, right there, it was almost at the top of that candle. So that is still providing support. This tells us that tomorrow should be an up day, followed by a down day, followed by an up day. If we look at the Chiku span, historically telling us what's happening in the cloud. IBM doing nothing, which is great because I didn't expect the stock to move up, and it's just trending, and my short 145 October calls are continuing to just collect premium. SAVA is the big disappointment. Let's go into a daily, and that is all driven by a short selling legal firm that's filed a citizen's petition with the FDA. But what is important is that we've had now 2 days where the selling has been, the volume rather, has been positive. These stochastics sort of were telling us that the price was going to go, not sort of, they were telling us that the price was going down. But this fast-moving stochastic now is at an all-time low. Well, we'd have to go back to April of 2021, April of this year, to see where it was that low. That was before it started its move up. So, you know, stochastics are one thing, they're good, but they really don't predict news. And the news, of course, here is the short seller filing with the FDA. Now, one thing that SAVA did today to respond to that is that they posted their phase 3 clinical trial on clinicaltrials.gov. So that was a clear sign to the short sellers that they plan to proceed, and they would have had to get FDA approval to post on, you know, the opening of the clinical trial. Now, they're not currently enrolling patients. So the next thing that's going to drive this stock is probably going to be an announcement that they've started to enroll patients in that phase 3 clinical trial. But this was a doji indecisive day. I'm no longer in this position anymore. Complicated story, but I'm still holding the stock and I'm still using short calls. I had short 65 calls for last week that fell all in the money. I had them this week that benefited from the drop today, so I rolled them into next week's, September the 10th, 50 short calls. So I'm not expecting any good news to come along, but want to be protected on bad news. So I picked up $9 for selling the 50 short calls. If the stock goes below 50, I keep the $9. My break-even point would be 41, and that would be, really, there would have to be a lot of bad news, I think, to drive it down to 41. But the volume for the last 4 days after that announcement has been significant, but it dropped off today. So the panic selling, I think, is probably over. Square up today. Stochastics are starting to turn up on the slower moving. Faster moving continues to move up. Still a good stock. I am still short the 280 calls for September the 17th. AT&T had a fairly good day today. WDC, after their merger announcement, popped and then promptly dropped. So I didn't check the news to see what that is because I'm not in that stock. That's all the ones I'm going to talk about today. If anybody wants to look at any other different stocks, just let me know in the comments. But what we're seeing now, I believe, is now driven by the McClellan oscillator, and I see choppiness. And having had this divergence between the Dow and the S&P, just confirms to me that we'll see more divergence, more choppiness.